Bhagwad Gita is a conversation between Sri Krishna and Prince Arjuna, which is also known as the Song of the Spirit. In the story, Arjuna, the Pandava leader, engaged in combat with the Kauravas to seize control of Hastinapur. The Bhagavad Gita contains 700 verses of the conversation between Prince Arjuna and his charioteer Krishna before the war. The prince begins to question his actions before the conflict starts, and given that his foes are his own kin, it is understandable why he would prefer not to engage in combat. Krishna recognizes his predicament and enlightens him about the purpose of life and his responsibilities. Krishna instructs the prince on how to discipline his body and mind via meditation, renunciation, and selfless service. The prince needs all three to restore his karma, which determines how he will fare in subsequent lives. The path to nirvana is paved with positive karma. Through these lessons, one comes to understand that the discussions aren't just about the physical battle. They're also about spiritual conflict, the struggle between good and evil, and how to live a life that pleases God. The moral and ethical challenges one faces while seeking liberation are both depicted in the book. It discusses creation, birth, and death, as well as the effects of one's acts, the everlasting soul, liberation, and the meaning of life. Mohandas Gandhi, an Indian politician, lawyer, social activist, and writer, was so fascinated by the spiritual principles in this book that he not only studied every word but also lived by them. Gandhi was the inspiration for movements all across the world because he believed in being kind to oneself and others. In Chapter 2 of the Bhagwad Gita, Krishna asks Arjuna to let go of his attachments so that he won't consider some individuals to be his relatives while others are not. Gandhi asserted that Gita's teachings are based on the lack of attachment to the results of one's actions. Karma Yoga says to conduct action continuously without attachment. Sankhya Yoga says to perform our business without getting attached to its fruits. Roughly translated, it indicates that if one worries excessively about the results of their work, they won't produce their best work and the stress will harm their mental and physical health. Therefore, one must act without being attached and live each day in unselfish tranquility without worrying about success or failure. According to Krishna, the way to achieve this is to abstain from desire, anger, and selfishness. Krishna explains to Arjuna that he should not question the ethics of the route to the divine but rather recognize that it is his duty when Arjuna questions the morality of the war. His unwillingness to commit murder in the war due to attachment or concern about the outcome is contrary to the divine because it is for the good. Because of this, the practice of detachment is needed. One's religious and moral duties are a person's obligation to the divine and is a person's strategy for ensuring that the world functions as it ought to create a balance of good and evil. Desire has the potential to undermine one's religious and moral duties because it can obstruct the divine will. Running away from one's duties is acting out of self-interest without considering the results of one's actions. Karma and one's religious and moral duties are similar in a way because they both require action. The distinction is that it considers both positive and bad actions, while one's religious and moral duties specify what action to take. Selfless deeds are positive, but selfish ones are not. Good things result from past activities that were good and bad things result from past actions that were bad because these actions cause reactions. It develops for every action since everything that is living on this planet has to take action. A person's actions can either keep them in this world or set them free from it. Ultimately, one's action dictates the cycle of birth and death that one experiences in the physical world. On the other hand, a spiritual practice that is carried out impersonally and without a desire for a reward for oneself can lead us to the path of liberation. If we live our life under our spiritual obligations, we will be released from having to accept yet another physical body, which will help us attain liberation. Accordingly, just like Arjuna, if a person, such as a soldier or police officer, must commit a murder in a certain situation to uphold the greater good, and he completes them without seeking personal gain or developing an emotional attachment, he will not accrue karma because it is his predetermined moral and religious duty. Although the scriptures contain numerous lessons and spiritual truths, it is clear that the fundamental ideas conveyed by Krishna and the Mahabharata battle are essentially about a man's ethical conflicts during his worldly responsibilities on his journey to liberation. Be sure to like our content and subscribe to our channel as well.